Hello dears, hope you all are doing good. So welcome to the concept reproduction of flowering plants and welcome to the program. Our program is Toppers NEET Olympiad and Foundation course. So up till previous video we have discussed about up till single correct answer questions, and in this video we are going to discuss about some of the previous questions, previous content questions. Okay, so let us see the first question, continuation of 52nd question. Okay, so till now we have discussed only 51 questions, so this is a 52nd question. So let us see what is the question here, what he is asking the question. In which type of flowers stigma is rough and sticky, it seems. In which type of flowers the stigma is rough and sticky, it seems. Okay, so in which kind of type of flowers, in which type, what kind of pollination we can see in that kind of sticky and the rough structured stigma. Okay, so option A is given as insect pollinated flowers, wind pollinated flowers, water pollinated flowers, or all the above. Okay, so the picture if you observe, so here the anemophily in the maize plant. In previous classes also we have discussed that the anemophily is nothing but the pollination which is done by the wind. Okay, through the wind do acts as a agent. Okay, so the wind is acting as a agent for pollination process. Okay, so here the correct option will be wind pollinated flowers. Okay, so in that kind of pollinated flowers, in that we can observe the stigma which is in a sticky condition and rough condition. If they are stick and rough, so then we can observe a type of pollination through the wind. We can observe the pollen grains will be transferring from pollen anther towards to the stigma of the flowers. Okay, so through the insects pollinated, it's the wrong option. Why? Because insects are the agents, they need to just fly towards to the flowers, so it might be sticky or not sticky. Okay, so it's not a problem, an issue. And even in the water pollination we can't observe the stigma is sticky. Okay, it must be the non-sticky, and obviously this is the wrong option. A, C, D are the wrong ones and option B is the correct one, right? Next, coming to the next question, pollination by wind is called. Pollination by wind is called. Previous question also related to the same one, so for this no need of taking much time. It's a anemophily. Gitmogamy is different. Okay, what is gitmogamy? It's a kind of pollination process. Pollination during the self-pollination or the cross-pollination, we need to just time duration. Male and the female gametes will be maturing in the different conditions. So that is called as a gitmogamy process. Autogamy in the sense it's directly the self-pollination within the same flower. None of the above is the wrong. Okay, autogamy and gitmogamy is related to the maturation lifespans of the male and female gametes. Here you see the picture also, the anemophily, nothing but the pollination through the wind. Okay, coming to the next question. When pollen grains of a flower pollinate the stigma of another flower of the same plant, it is called as, so up till now we have discussed what is gitmogamy and what is autogamy. Okay, so gitmogamy in the sense the transfer of the pollen grain within the same flower. Okay, so gitmogamy is the pollen grain of a same flower pollinate the stigma of another flower of a same plant. There is a chance of cross pollination, but here we can observe the cross pollination. There is a chance of the self pollination, but can be seen the cross pollination within the same plant occurs, but the flower will be different. Okay, so pollen grain is transferring from the anther of one flower is moving towards to the stigma of the another flower, but the plant is same. Okay, so this gitmogamy is nothing but the cross pollination and it avoids the self pollination. And what is dichogamy? The time durations of maturing of male and female gametes. And what is hercogamy? Hercogamy is nothing but the artificial process, okay, to avoid the self pollination. So there we can observe the hercogamy, position of male and female gametes will be changed manually. That is called as a hercogamy. This is wrong. Option B is also wrong, and option C is the correct one. Autogamy in the sense direct self-pollination. See in the picture it is given autogamy. Okay, autogamy in the sense transfer of the pollen grain from the anther to the stigma of a same flower. Nothing but the self-pollination. So this is the wrong option. Geitonogamy is the correct option. Right? Coming to the next question, dears. What is this? A snail. The picture indicates the snail. So let us see what about the snail we are going to discuss about is. So pollination by the slugs and snails. Slugs and snail belongs to phylum mollusks. Okay. So through the slugs and snail the pollination occurs it seems. What is that name of the pollination process? Is that the ornithophilus, malacophilus, anemophilus or the Chiropterophilus? Okay, so what are all these? Okay, so these are the different types of pollination processes. Ornithophilus is through the birds. Okay, so snail is not a bird. Okay, and Malacophilus. If you remember our previous sessions, so in one of the previous class we have discussed that the Malacophily is nothing but a type of pollination which is done by the snail. Okay, so here the correct option will be option B. And what is anemophilus? So up till now 2 questions or 3 questions we have discussed it regarding the anemophilus, that is through the wind. And next one is the Chiropterophily is through the bat. Okay, so bats are helping for the pollination process. Okay, so that is Chiropterophily. Anemophilus is nothing but through the wind the pollination occurs. Okay, so what is the correct option will be B. Malacophilus is the correct option. That is what the figure is indicating over here. The snail, pollination by the slugs and snail is known as a Malacophily. Right? Next, coming to the next question, dears. Which prevents the self-pollination? Preventing the self-pollination means occurs the cross-pollination. Okay, so type of process we need to discuss, that there should be only the cross-pollination but not the self-pollination. Let us see what is the first option. Self-sterility it seems. Self-sterility in the sense, so kind of what we can say, same kind of a flower will contains the male and female gametes in the same, but there is no releasing of the process of, no transferring of the process of a pollination. So those are these plants are nothing but the hermaphrodites. Okay, so these are nothing but the hermaphrodites. So for this no pollination occurs. Okay, if there is no pollination, then what is the use of either it is a cross pollination or the self pollination? Though it is a self sterility. So here also we can't observe the self pollination. This is one of the process to avoid the self pollination. That is the question he asked here. Which prevents the self pollination? So this is the correct option. Hercogamy. Hercogamy, as I discussed, as I told you in the previous question, that hercogamy is the changing the position of male and female gametes to avoid the self pollination. So hercogamy is also the correct option. And what is dichogamy? In the dichogamy, as the time duration we need to consider for male and female maturation of the gametes. So here we can observe the cross pollination. This is also one of the prevention process of the self pollination. Option C is also the correct one, but we can't opt all these. So what is option D? All of these, right? So we can't say ABCD, all ABCD in given as a option D. Okay, self sterility, hercogamy and the dichogamy are all the processes which prevents the self pollination, right? Coming to the next question. In bisexual flowers, when the gynoecium matures earlier than the androecium. In bisexual flowers. Bisexual flowers in the sense we can observe both androecium and gynoecium in the same flower. Okay. So there we can observe the gynoecium matures earlier than the androecium itself. Okay. So what is that process called as? Is that the protandry? Is that the protogyny? Is that the heterogamy or the autogamy? Okay, autogamy we have discussed in the previous. What is autogamy? So there we can observe the self-pollination. So self-pollination in the sense the time duration of male and female gametes maturation will be same. So this will be the wrong option, right? And coming to the heterogamy. Heterogamy in the sense presence of different gametes. Yes. Now coming to protandry and protogyny, if we just come to the figure, see the figure once my dears. So here the protandry and the protogyny. What is protandry and what is protogyny? If you observe the figure, in the first flower you can observe only the stigma and style, right? In the second figure if you observe, the stamens are arising later than the stigma, right? Nothing but. So in this type of flower, protogyny flowers, example are the scrofularia. Example is the scrofularia. In this we can observe, first of all, the mature one will be the female gamete. Female gamete mature first than the male gametes. Okay, so that condition is called as a protogyny. And what is the above picture indicates? It's a protandry. Protandry is exactly opposite to the protogyny, right? And what is the opposite one? In the protogyny, the female one will be maturing first, but coming to the protandry, the male will be, stamens will be maturing first, and later on we can observe the maturation of a female gamete. So this condition is also called as a dichogamy. So out of these two, protandry and protogyny, which one will be the correct option? Option B will be the correct one, but not the A. Okay, so in the bisexual flower, when the gynoecium matures first, gynoecium, protogyny, okay, androecium, andry, the words indicates androecium matures first, means male matures first, okay. Protogyny, gynoecium, the word indicates. So these are the blind codes to just keep it in our mind. So if we just go for these blind codes, so in exam we'll be just immediately picking up the correct one according to the codes which are been given in the word itself. Okay, option B will be the correct one. Hope you all understood, dears. Right, very good. Coming to the next question. Pollination characteristically occurs in. Pollination characteristically occurs in. Pollination in the sense cross pollination and the self pollination. Okay, so it must occur in which out of these options? Okay, so what are those? In the angiosperms and the fungi. Angiosperms are the flowering plants. Okay, coming to fungi, these are the non-flowering plants. Fungi are the non-flowering plants. Okay, so this is the wrong option. And option B, angiosperms and the gymnosperms. Angiosperms and gymnosperms. So in what way we need to consider? These are the different ones. Angiosperms are nothing but, so we can observe the seeds which are enclosed within the fruit. Okay, and in this gymnosperms you can observe the seeds will be outside the fruit. Okay, so in both the type of plants we can observe the seeds are produced by the flowering plants. So both of these comes under the phanerogams. Phanerogams. Okay, so this might be the correct one, and let us consider before after finishing the option D and C and D. So what are the pteridophytes and angiosperms itself? Pteridophytes and the angiosperms. What are pteridophytes? So within the pteridophytes we can observe a type of fertilization occurs but there is no pollination process. Okay, so for the pteridophytes there is no requirement of the pollination, but here he has asked a pollination characteristically occurs in pteridophytes. We can't observe the pollination process, directly the fertilization occurs and the male one will be reaching towards to the female one through the water, and in the same process the bryophytes also the same process. So there is no pollination occurs in the bryophytes. Okay, so angiosperms are correct but not the pteridophytes and bryophytes. So which one is the correct one? Option B, angiosperms and the gymnosperms. Okay, so within these kind of plants we can observe the characteristic type of a pollination process. Either it might be the self pollination or it might be the cross pollination, right? Coming to the next question, this option C, D are also wrong ones. Okay, next. Coming to the next question, micropyle allows. Micropyle, what is micropyle? Okay, so if you observe this, so this is the picture of a fertilization process in the female gamete. Okay, so this is the stigma and this is the pollen tube which is arising towards to the ovule. Okay, so where it ends. Okay, so as it ends towards to the embryo sac region, so here the condition, the entry of pollen tube towards to the ovule into the embryo sac is through the channel. The entry gate is called as a micropyle. Okay, so here what is the question? Micropyle allows. What does it allows? Okay, so pollen tube to penetrate in the ovule at the time of fertilization, and activity of germination of a pollen grains. What is activity of pollen grains? Germination of a pollen grain is done by the ripened stigma. The chemicals which are secreted by the ripened stigma, sugary substances will be secreted by the ripened stigma. Then we can observe the germination of a pollen grain. Okay, so pollen grain will be germinating into a pollen tube through the ripened stigma but not through the micropyle. Okay, and coming to the option C, a pore in the pollen grain. What is a pore? Pore in the pollen grain, a hole in the pollen grain itself. It's a meaningless sentence. The growing up of pollen grain, germination process, where it has to germinate, where it has to reach. Okay, the guidance and the complete movement into the embryo sac is guided by the filiform apparatus. We have discussed in one of the MCQ in a previous session. So here what is the correct option? Option A will be the correct one. Remaining B, C, D are the wrong ones, right? Coming to the next question. Sorry. Which of the following statement is correct for the pollen tube? So what is the function of pollen tube he is asking. Let us see what is that. It shows the chemotactic movement. It shows only the tip growth. It is composed of 3 non-cellular zone systems and it shows radial cytoplasmic streaming. Okay, so let us go for in detail explanation of all. It shows the chemotactic movement. What is a chemotactic movement? Just now I told that a filiform apparatus in the synergids before the pollen tube, the sperm cell, first sperm cell entering into the egg cell, these are being maintained by the first sperm cell is maintained by the egg apparatus, filiform apparatus in the synergids. Okay, so kind of chemicals which are present in those is called as a chemotactic movement. Okay, so what kind of organ shows the chemotactic movement? Is it the pollen grain or a pollen tube? Yes, it's a pollen tube. The question itself indicates. Okay, the pollen tube. What is the correct statement regarding the pollen tube? It is undergoing the chemotactic movement which is under the control of a filiform apparatus. It's a correct one. Let us see. What is the option B? It shows only tip growth. Okay, so why does it shows only the tip growth? Right? It itself shows the tip growth. Does it have any capacity itself inside its body, inside the pollen tube to just simply penetrating into the embryo sac? No, it doesn't have a capacity. It's a wrong statement. Okay. And what is the third statement? It is composed of 3 non-cellular zone systems. What are non-cellular zones? Okay. So non-cellular, non means no cell. If there is no cell, then what is the use of fertilization process? It's completely a wrong option. Okay. And what is the option D? It shows radial cytoplasmic streaming. Okay, so streaming, radial cytoplasmic streaming. Okay, so radial is nothing but movement in the radii process. Cytoplasmic, nothing but the movement of cytoplasm within the cell is streaming itself, which is moving. Okay, so it's completely the wrong option. It's not only the cytoplasmic process, it's a kind of sperm cell which is undergoing the fertilization. Penetration is being regulated by the filiform apparatus. Okay, the chemical which is present in the filiform apparatus is guiding and attracting the pollen tube towards to the micropyle of a embryo sac. So option A will be the correct one. Hope you understood, dears. Right. Coming to the next question. Double fertilization process means, it's a very easy question. Okay, so double fertilization, up till now we have listened this sentence with this word for many times. What is double fertilization? As the pollen grain contains, yes, this is a pollen grain. Yes, and here we can observe the complete cytoplasm and we can observe the 2 sperm cells with 2 nuclei and 1 more nucleus of a pollen tube. Pollen tube nucleus. Okay, so here we can observe the fusion of male gamete with the female gamete for 2 times. Okay, that is called as a double fertilization. Okay, let us see what happens here. What is the first statement he has given here? Fusion of 1 male gamete, fusion of 1 male gamete nucleus with egg nucleus, while fusion of other male gamete nucleus with the secondary nucleus. Okay, so fusion of 1 male gamete in the sense it's a first male gamete, first sperm cell. This is the first sperm cell. So this first sperm cell will be fusing with the nucleus of a egg cell. Okay, so that is what given over here, fusion of 1 male gamete nucleus with the egg nucleus. Egg nucleus is present in a egg cell. Okay, and next question, next statement, while fusion of other male gamete nucleus with the secondary nucleus. What is the secondary nucleus? So if you observe the embryo sac, the secondary nucleus can be seen exactly in the central region. Okay, so the anterior region, the 3 antipodals, posterior region, middle egg cell and the 2 synergids. Okay, so first will be forming the zygote and second fusion will be forming the endosperm. Okay, so here the central cell is also called as a secondary nucleus. Why we are saying it as a secondary nucleus? The fertilization is undergoing for the second time to form a endosperm with the antipodal cells, and the synergids which are present in this are responsible for developing a embryo into a complete fruit, and the ovules will be developing into a seeds. Okay, so this option will be the correct one. Let us see the remaining options also. Fusion of male gamete nucleus with secondary nucleus. Is that the second double fertilization? Fusion of male gamete nucleus with the secondary nucleus. Is that the story ends over there? It's completely not. Then what about the egg cell and how the zygote is being formed? Is a zygote and endosperm forming only with the fusion of male gamete with the secondary nucleus? It's completely wrong. Okay, and what is the option C? Fusion of 2 polar nuclei with each other. fusion of two polar nuclei, where we can observe the polar nuclei. So these are the cells we can observe only in the female embryo sac. There is no involvement of pollen tube. Male gamete, if there is not fusing with the female one, then how does the fertilization process occurs? It doesn't occur. This is also the wrong option. Option B wrong, option C wrong, and let's come for the option D. Fusion of male gamete nucleus with the egg nucleus. So by this only we can observe the formation of a zygote, but no formation of a endosperm. Okay, so for the endosperm formation there must be one of the fusion. For zygote formation there must be one fusion. Okay, so zygote forms first by the first fertilization, endosperm forms by the second fertilization. Okay, so the clear picturization explanation is been given on only the statement 1. Okay, option A is the correct option, right? Next, coming to the next question, the endosperm found in the angiospermic seed is different from that of gymnosperms in the sense that formation of, it forms, what does it forms? The endosperm found in the angiosperms. What is endosperm? The result of second fertilization. Result of the second fertilization forms endosperms in the angiospermic flowering plant. Okay, seed is different from that of gymnosperms. What are gymnosperms? Gymnosperms are a type of flowers in the sense. Okay, so what is the difference between endosperm and the gymnosperm itself? Okay, so both are the sperms. Are they same? Let us see whether they are same or different. What is the option A? It is formed before fertilization, while in the later it is formed after fertilization. What forms before fertilization and what forms after fertilization? Okay, so is the formation of endosperm is occurring, is forming after the fertilization or before the fertilization? Endosperm forms after second fertilization. Okay, and gymnosperms are a type of fruits and the flowers which are been seen. They are been characterized by the presence of seeds exteriorly in the, exteriorly outside the fruit. And option B, it is formed after the fertilization, while in the later it is formed before the fertilization. Okay, so it might be correct. Okay, option A is wrong. Why? Because endosperm forms after fertilization, and the first sentence is indicating that formed before the fertilization. Okay, so it indicates this is the wrong option. Okay, so second one will be the correct. And let us see option C and D also. It is a cellular, while in the later it is a nuclear. Before forming the cell, the nucleus forms. Before forming a cell, the nucleus division will be formed and the cell will be completely developed by the division of a nucleus. Okay, this is also the wrong option. And coming to option D, it is nutritive, while in the later it is protective. Okay, what is nutritive and what is protective? The endosperm takes the nutritive substances from the antipodal cells within the chelazal end of a ovule. Okay, so how does it produces the nutritive substances for the other one? Okay, it has to develop, it has to take the nutrients and it has to develop into a fruit. Okay, so and it is protective itself. Okay, what is protective? The carpi region, the outside layer, outside peel of the fruit is a protective layer. Okay, so it's the gymnosperm is not a protective layer and the endosperm is not a nutritive layer. Okay, so option D is also the wrong. So option B will be the correct one. Okay, next, coming to next question. When the pollen grains are not transferred from anthers to the stigma in the flower due to the barrier or a fence, it is referred as, or when some natural barrier exists between andrecium and gynoecium to check the self-pollination, it is known as, what is that process known as? So this kind of sentence we have discussed in a previous question also, right? So let us see here what are the main concepts. Don't go for the reading complete, just underline, we'll go for the underlining. When the pollen grains are not transferred, okay, they are not transferred from anthers to the stigma in flower due to the barrier. Barrier fence is done by the manual process. Manual in the sense artificial. We human beings are making a barrier over there not to transfer the pollen grain from anther to the stigma of a same flower or in the same plant. It is referred as or when some natural barrier exists. Okay, it's a manual one and it's a barrier, natural barrier exists between androecium and gynoecium to check the self pollination. What is that process is called as? Okay, so it is called as a hercogamy. What is it called as? It's a hercogamy. Okay, so by the natural process, if it occurs, it's a self pollination. If we people are stopping the natural barrier or a natural self pollination process, so it is called as a hercogamy. What is heterostyle? The length of a style. Style where we can observe can be seen in the gynoecium. Okay, so this heterostyle is a concept exactly not related to the barrier and the pollination process. Here the heterostyle in the sense length of the gynoecium. Okay, so different types of gynoecium, different lengths of the gynoecium can be seen in the different flowers. That is called as a heterostyle. This will be the wrong option, and hercogamy is the avoiding of cross pollination. So it is being done by the natural self pollination, and to avoid, sometimes it has been avoiding the self pollination by manual barriers. Okay, so what is dichogamy? Duration of maturation of male and female gametes at the different times. This is also the wrong option. And what is cleistogamy? So we can observe at the same time the male and female gametes will be maturing at the same time. So this is also the wrong option. Hercogamy is the correct option. Okay, hope you all understood, dears. Coming to the next question. Which is the most logical sequence? Logical sequence with reference to the life cycle of angiosperms, flowering plants. What is the life cycle of a flowering plants? He is asking. Okay, let us see. The option A is germination process, formation of endosperm, seed dispersal, double fertilization. What is germinating? What is endosperm formation? What is seed dispersal? And what is germination? So there is no contact between each and every word. Okay, so germination of a seed might be, or germination of a pollen tube might be. About what he has given, there is no proper meaning for the word germination in the angiosperm life cycle. Okay, endosperm formation. Endosperm formation where we can observe during the fertilization process. Okay, and seed dispersal, it seems. What do the seed dispersal, when does it occur? After the fruit is been opening and the seed will be coming outside either by the human beings or by the birds or by the wind or any sort of the agents. The seeds will be dispersing into the another places, and there we can observe the germination of a seed into a young plant. Okay, so there is no connection between these process and double fertilization, it seems. When does it occur? When does the double fertilization occur? Does it occur after the seed for dispersal? Okay, seed dispersal has to occur. After that, seed has to germinate, the plant has to grow, the flower has to form. After the flower for process, the pollination occurs first of all, then the double fertilization occurs. Okay, so this option will be wrong. Sequence is wrong. And next one is pollination, fertilization, seed formation and the germination. What is pollination? Within the flowering plant. Okay, so we need to consider here the flowers first of all. Why? Because flowers are the agents for producing the next generation plants, nothing but the seeds. Okay, so that is called as a sexual reproduction. So for sexual reproduction, first of all, the pollination has to occur. Male must be transferring towards to the female. First, pollination must occur And next, fertilization must occur. This is a second process, and after fertilization we can observe the seed formation within the fruit. Okay, this is the third process, and after seed is being formed, that seed will be germinating in the soil. After seed is being sown in the soil, we can observe the seed will be converting into a seedling or a young sapling also we can say. Okay, so this might be the correct sequence: pollination, fertilization, seed formation and the germination process. Okay, let us see the different ones, option C and D also: cleavage, fertilization, grafting and fruit formation itself. What is cleavage? Cleavage is a division of a cell. Okay, so where does this division of a cell occurs? Here we need to identify what the fertilization, when does the fertilization occurs, before the fertilization what has to occur. The fertilization has to occur by the pollination process, not the cleavage process. Okay, fertilization might be sequence correct, but before to this it's a wrong option. Grafting is a asexual, nothing but the artificial vegetative propagation. Artificial vegetative propagation. Okay, this is completely non-related one. And the fruit formation itself, by the fruit we are getting a new plant? No, by the seed we will be getting the new plant, and this is the wrong option. Option D, maturation, mitosis, differentiation and the fertilization. What is maturation? Let us see, it might be the maturation of gametes. Okay, so after maturation the pollination has to occur. Okay, after pollination then the fertilization occurs. Here he has given mitosis. What is mitosis? Growth of the organs. Okay, so growth of the organs is been done by one of the cell division called as a mitosis. It's completely wrong. And differentiation itself. Differentiation, by just observing those we can identify, but there is no differentiation role in the lifespan of a angiosperms, and at last occurs the fertilization itself. It's completely wrong. Okay, only option B will be the correct one, right? Next, coming to the next question, dears. Secondary nucleus in the middle of an embryo sac of angiosperms. The condition of secondary nucleus he is asking. The picture indicates secondary nucleus. Already we have discussed. Very easy question. The two nuclei, number of nuclei, count of nuclei will be identifying for the ploidy condition. Okay, are they the haploid in condition or diploid in condition or triploid in condition or a tetraploid in condition? Okay, so it is in a diploid condition before fertilization. Okay, so here he did not mention the word fertilization, so we need to consider it as a diploid condition of a secondary nucleus. It's not a triploid. Triploid is after fertilization. Tetraploid no, and haploid also no, right? Next, coming to the next question. In angiosperms, the pollen grain is normally pollinated at. In the angiosperms, the pollen grain is normally pollinated at which stage? In the 1 cell stage, the 2 cell stage, the 3 cell stage or the 4 cell stage. As we know that in the pollen grain we can observe the germination of a pollen tube. It contains 2 sperm nuclei. One is for the first fertilization with the egg cell to form a zygote, and one more sperm nucleus is for the fusion with the secondary nucleus to form a endosperm. So what is the condition of a pollen grain here? Okay, at which stage we can observe the fertilization process? Normally the pollination occurs during the 2-celled stage. Okay, so during the pollination, when the pollen grain is ready to fall onto the stigma, there we can observe the 2 nuclei. Okay, so that is called as a 2-celled stage. Option A, C, D are the wrong ones. Understood? The figure also indicates the 2 sperm nuclei. Okay, the sperm cells will be ready to conjugate, ready to fuse with the egg cell and the egg cell and the secondary nucleus to form the complete structure of a fruit and the seeds. Right? Hope you all understood. Yes, my dears. So this is the end of this session. So we'll be meet in the next session. Thank you so much.